Hey there, everybody. This is Iman, that Philly wholesaler chick, with Real Estate Wholesaling Explained, which is a 100% content-focused blog about all things real estate wholesaling. And I'm excited, as I am with every guest that I have, to come on and do a video interview. Video interview with Shannon and Keith French, who actually just relocated back to Louisiana, correct, Keith? You were living in Maryland.
That's right.
Shannon's from Maryland originally, and today's topic is going to be about wholesaling link options. Now, before we get into that, I just want to give you a little background information about Shannon and Keith. They're one of America's top power couple real estate investing teams. They have a combined 7 years of experience, I believe, real estate investing. They're full-time. They have over 1,500 hours and over $150,000 in real estate education. But more importantly, they've done over 400 real estate transactions, including short sales, rehabs, fix and flips, buy and holds, wholesale, sandwich, lease options, sub-twos, and private lending, and the list goes on. So I'm going to turn it over to Shannon and Keith. For those, actually, before we jump into that, I'm going to, the whole idea with, what they'll be talking about is kind of a little different than what we're used to talking about in terms of discounted properties, ugly houses. So today we're going to be talking about wholesaling pretty houses, pretty much. Am I correct in that
That's
assessment,
right.
guys?
Exactly.
Anyway, I'm going to turn it over to Keith and Shannon. They're going to share with us a little bit about how they both got started in real estate investing and how they, pretty much got into, focusing on wholesaling, what they call link options, and, they'll explain what that's about. So I turn it over to you guys.
That's right. Well, thank you so much, Iman, for having us on your show, and for all your listeners that are listening to you. And we just appreciate everybody's time. And you're right. We, when you were refreshing our memory about all the types of real estate we used to do, it's exhausting. And going back, we're closing in on 9 years in real estate investing. And going back a bunch of years ago, Shannon and I didn't know each other, but we had parallel lives going on. We both had worked in corporate America for the same company, Chevron, and we both had gotten divorced about the same time, and we both started paying for real estate seminars and boot camps back in 2004.
Yeah, we actually quit our jobs within 13 days of each other.
Wow.
This is before we had actually met, and we found this out after the fact.
Okay.
So Shannon had her own real estate business going on actually in South Carolina, and I had my real estate business going on in Maryland. So what was really neat when we met is Shannon had the pretty side of the business, is what she worked on, which is an old Ron LeGrand, he used to call it pretty side and ugly side. Mm-hmm. And so Shannon was doing subject to transactions and sandwich lease options. And I was doing mostly wholesaling junkers, short sales, and rehabs. So when we met, it was like pretty meets ugly. and it was like we can just form the perfect company together. Okay. So this was in 2006 that the two of us met. We both had our independent businesses going, and we merged those two businesses in January of 2007 when Shannon moved from South Carolina to join me in Maryland. Mm. And that's when we decided she had about 15 properties in different stages going on in South Carolina. I probably had about 25 properties. So we combined those, and we said, well, let's just triple, double, quadruple this. And that's where things started kind of getting scary for us, is back in 2006 through 2008 when the markets peaked and then started crashing. We had all kinds of renovation projects in play, subject to transactions that were out there waiting on the person to purchase. And really kind of just fast forwarding, the world collapsed out from under us back in 2008, I guess it was.
And just here's what we mean by scary. We had to bring in $50,000 a month just to break even.
Just to cover bills.
Our marketing budget alone was $5,000.
Wow.
So it was high stress and high volume.
So that story is just why we morphed into our link options, what we do today. We got to a point where in 2008 and 2009 we crashed, we splat, as they say, and had to actually file bankruptcy at that point. You can't sustain $50,000 a month in overhead and debt. We could not find enough deals when we focused on rehabbing and wholesaling junkers to cover the escalating debts. So back in early 2009, we had to file bankruptcy, and at that point, we looked at each other and said, do you want to go back to a JOB? And both of us were just like vehemently, no, we're not going to go back and get a job. And we knew we were good at real estate. I mean, it's all about marketing, really. Once you understand how to market, whatever you focus on, you're going to find those kinds of deals. But then you have to have a plan. You have to know, once I acquire all these properties from my marketing machine, how am I going to get out of all these properties? And that's when we said, all right, we love wholesaling. From my standpoint, I love wholesaling. The difficult thing that we didn't like about wholesaling traditionally was keeping an active list of cash buyers and then having to go to all the properties and estimate the repairs so that we knew we were putting a project under a property under a good contract number so that we could pass it on to a rehabber. So we liked wholesaling. We liked, from Shannon's side of the business, sandwich lease options and subject to transactions, but what we didn't like about that was guaranteeing payments and having to stay in the transaction until the tenant buyer purchased. So we said, all right, is there anything else we like out there? And we didn't like renovating because that was rewarding to take a junker and turn it into a beautiful home, but that's exhausting. Mm-hmm. And so we said, all right, if we like subject tos and sandwich lease options, but we don't like guaranteeing the payments, and we don't want to stay in the transaction, and we like wholesaling, why can't we combine those three strategies and remove all the things we don't like? And that's how link options got started. And everybody's probably going, well, what is a link option? It's really, what you're doing is matching a seller who wants full price for their home, who is not distressed. The sellers that we're looking for, opposite of all the other real estate strategies, are not behind in payments. They're not upside down on their mortgage. They don't have to sell. Mm-hmm. Now, there's a big distinction between a motivated seller and a distressed motivated seller. We certainly like motivated sellers because they're creative and will think outside of the box and think, okay, how can I get the most money for my property, but I'm not distressed, so I don't have to let you offer me 50 cents on the dollar for it. So the whole link options is focusing on sellers who want full price for their property and have the ability to wait 9 to 18 months for one of our tenant buyers to be able to get a loan to purchase that property through a lease with an option to buy. So that's really how we designed link options, came up with link options, and what a different world it is to talk to sellers who are not distressed, because I can tell you, Iman, when we used to talk to all these distressed sellers and through short sales and doing the 50 cents on the dollar negotiating, all of their troubles would transpire to us through osmosis. And our whole life was absorbing other people's problems. Yes, we were helping in different ways, but it seemed like all we were doing was taking all their problems and putting them on our shoulders, which you get rid of when you do the link options transactions.
Right. So that's a great point, Keith. What you just were saying. I mean, because I was just sitting here thinking, because lots of times, even just through my own marketing, sometimes I'll get people who will say, who are actually looking for retail. You know what I'm saying? So. Right. which this is great because, for those of us who are getting those types of calls, even though we may be marketing for those discounted properties or junkers, as you call them, you now have a solution to be able to offer people who are calling, who are looking for retail. You know what I'm saying? Because I know a lot of, some people might freak out, like, oh my God, what do I do? You know what I mean? Like, if you're so used to thinking one way, which,
right.
Again, I'm glad we're doing this video interview because it does, offer people who do what we do another way to help people and, put some money in their pockets. So,
well, you just gave a huge tip to everybody, and that is one of the easiest ways to get leads, to get started in this, is when we used to market for the junker properties to wholesale or rehab or do short sales, you do a massive amount of marketing. I mean, you have to market to a lot of people to get those ones that are willing to say, yes, I'll let you buy it for 50 cents on the dollar.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I remember that I had stacks and stacks of leads from people that just wanted full price for their home. I couldn't push short sell. They didn't want me to take over their payments. I couldn't offer them 50 to 60 to 70 cents on the dollar because they owed more than that and weren't distressed. So I noticed this giant pile of paper going into the trash every week. And all it was people that just wanted full price for their home. So the tip you just gave is one of the easiest ways to get leads is to go to your wholesalers and rehabbers and say, hey guys, all those leads that want full price that you can't do anything with, give them to me. And if I can make some money off of that, I will pay you a referral fee when I get paid. So very good point there.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, I mean, because, I know a lot of people freak out because I know I did early on that, I just didn't know what to do. It's like, of course the suggestion is to, maybe suggest that they speak with listed with a realtor because, you just don't know what to do, how to structure the deal. So,
right.
Which, this is, and I'm sure you guys will jump into a little bit about, how to do that. Okay, so you're saying we've pretty much covered, what a link option is and what type of, seller,
right.
would, fit that criteria. Now, of course, we want houses that are pretty houses, not, work that,
That's right.
properties that need a lot of work, but, a house that, you would want to live in. You would want to walk into if you were a first-time home buyer, and say, hey, this is, where I want to live. So, am I correct in that, Keith and Shannon?
That's exactly right. In fact, the prettier the house, the easier it is to do a link option with because we'll talk about how to find the buyers and what kind of buyers here in a second after we talk the kind of houses. But the buyer mentality is somebody that is they're near bank qualified. So when they go into a house and look at it, they're looking at it from the standpoint, do I want to buy this as my home and live in this? So the better shape the home, the easier it is to do a link option with. And you hit it right on the head. It's first-time home buyer neighborhoods and step-up neighborhoods.
Mm-hmm.
And really if somebody's asking me about a market that we're not familiar with, for example, in Baltimore, where we do all of our business, first-time home buyers start in about the $125,000 range. Mm-hmm. There are some less than $125,000, but they're mostly rent-only type neighborhoods. And if you're thinking of a buyer's mentality, they don't want to buy in a rent-only neighborhood. They want to buy where there's other homeowners. So really that $125,000 to $275,000 price point in Maryland are your first-time home buyers and your step-up home buyers, which is the sweet spot for this business. Those are so easy because 80% of the population that can afford a mortgage, has a down payment, can't get a loan today. So you've got really, if you think of a bell curve, 10% of the people on the left are A qualified. They can walk into a bank and get a loan today. 10%. Then you've got the 10% on the right side of the bell curve that really just will always struggle. They can never get their situation where they can get a loan. They're full-time renters. And then you've got got this huge bell curve, 80% of the population that can afford a mortgage just needs a little help on their credit. So the types of houses they're looking for are those median priced homes. Now, you can do this on any priced homes, but why not work on the easiest ones? There's a plethora of homes in the first time and step up neighborhoods. So that's one criteria. We just said don't focus on rent only neighborhoods because who wants to buy there?
Right.
And then you want your home to be, the more normal the home, according to the surrounding houses, the easier. An example is you don't want to try to market a 2-bedroom home in a 4-bedroom only neighborhood. If all the other homes have 4 bedrooms, it's going to be tough to market a 2-bedroom home. So what we always tell people is 3 bedrooms and more than 1 bath in the median income homeowner neighborhoods there are so many of those where people just want full price.
It needs to, as far as condition there, we've moved properties that were move-in ready, very, very good condition, just dated. Mm-hmm. It was just cosmetic things. Now, if it's obvious that the pricing is adjusted accordingly, we've moved a couple of those where the tenant buyer, they weren't looking for something brand spanking new and modern. They actually had some desire in the future to do their own upgrades.
Right.
So we have had success with those. You have to market it a bit different, and the pricing of it obviously needs to reflect the dated condition. But since it's a rent-to-own situation where it's more longer term, you want that property to not have a lot of maintenance issues during that rental phase. So you want everything to be in good condition, obviously passing any inspections that are required by the state or county. And there's ways to offset any expense. I'll just mention real quick here, probably 95% of our sellers do buy a home warranty that is active when they move in. So it doesn't have to be a newly renovated, newly updated. It could be just a
right.
good condition, great condition, even dated condition home, just as long as it's safe and it's livable and it's marketable.
And priced, like Shannon said, priced accordingly.
Right.
And so if a house needs cosmetic work, then you just can't put it at full retail value. It has to have that discount. And there are people that are willing to go in and do their own work to it, sweat equity, if you will, do their own work to it, and those do work for a link option as well.
Right. I mean, just to jump in a little bit, I mean, I actually was involved in a situation like that with my cousin and his wife. Actually, they were looking, they were paying $1,400 plus per month for rent, but they wanted a house. They had the cash, but the credit, going to college and that type of thing, their credit was a little shaky. But they, I was able to assist them by bringing them as a tenant buyer to a deal where, they only needed to put $5,000 down. I think the purchase price, was like $243. And, it needed some updating, but it was in pretty good condition. So, and I think, to tell you the truth, that was like the easiest money I've made. I mean, since I've been in this business, I'll tell you right now. Like, I knew somebody that had a property that they were trying to find a tenant buyer for it. Knew a tenant buyer. They had the money. Hooked them up with their credit lender. And, matter of fact, it'll be a year, December. So these kind of deals are out there. So I think one of the, what stood out for me is that, you just need to know what the median price range is, for your area or whatever area that you're targeting.
Right.
You know what I mean? If you're seeing, a bunch of empty cars on the street, that should be a good indication that it's a homeowner neighborhood. If you're seeing a lot of cars, might be questionable. So, but just to ask you guys real quickly, like, okay, so, how are you marketing for these types of deals? You MLS or what?
Great question. And there are many types of marketing strategies you can do, and any strategy that works for other strategies, any marketing that works for other strategies will work for this too, because no matter what you're doing, there are people that just want full price for their home. But the key ways to market to find leads that we've used is the yellow letter. Not the one that just says we'll $buy your house. Those don't work so well. You have to kind of customize your yellow letter and make it look like an invitation to a party. But the yellow letter to absentee owners is how we jump-started this business. We only had to mail 500, so 10 a day for 5 days.
No, 50.
50 a day.
50 a day for 10 days.
50 a day for 10 days. And I'm an accountant. So 500 of those went out. That would get us 2 months worth of inventory. And I'm talking anywhere about 8 to 12 houses that would get you. And the way that we primarily find our leads today is we get a lot of referrals, because once you help a seller get full price for their house and you help a renter become a homeowner through your program, they're going to tell everybody. So after you've done a few of these transactions, your sellers and your buyers are going to be your best form of marketing, because they're going to tell everybody they know. But when you're just starting off, Craigslist, we are getting more leads than we can handle just from going through the for rent and the for sale by owner on Craigslist. So if anybody just goes to Craigslist.org for your city, you'll see in the housing section up at the top, there's for rent at the very top, and then at the very bottom, it's houses for sale, and there's a subgroup called for sale by owner. Just emailing or cold calling those people will get you leads. Now, we have a software that automatically emails all these people, works 24/7, and generates 200 to 300 emails a day. So we get inundated with leads. But if you are just on bare bones, shoestring budget, even a yellow letter is going to cost anywhere from 85 cents to $1 a letter. Cold calling and going into Craigslist is going to get you some leads to get started with. So that's really the 3 ways we find sellers: yellow letter, Craigslist, and referrals. Those referrals can come from realtors. And a lot of realtors have listings that are sitting on the market for a long time and they're not selling. And their clients, the owners, are getting nervous. And so a lot of our leads, anytime we meet a realtor, we just say, hey, how's it going? How's the market for you? Almost every realtor will say, well, the ones that are just sitting on the market, I have a few of those and I can't shake them. I can't get them placed, sold. And then so you can just say, well, you know what? We specialize in working with realtors and helping people get full price for their home. Any of those that aren't selling and are you think you're going to lose the listing, give us a shot at marketing those for rent to own, at least with an option to buy if you think your owner will go, your seller will go for that. That alone will get you a ton of leads. And you talked about the other investor leads, they're going into the trash. So just that little group of things is all we do, and that gets us more leads than we can handle. And for the buyers, once you have a rent-to-own lease with an option marketed out there on the internet, you are going to be amazed at how many people, remember, 80% of the population can afford a mortgage, wants to be a homeowner, but they can't get a loan. So you're targeting 80% of the buyers on the market when you put a lease option rent-to-own home out there. And all we use is a thing called vFlyer. You can go to vflyeraccount.com. So when we get a property, we post it on vFlyer, and 99% of our tenant buyers come from vFlyer. It is really a simple shoestring budget. I mean,
well, what vFlyer does, I input the information of the house in one website, and it will blast it out to dozens of other sites.
Like 40.
Right.
It also gives you HTML code to go. It doesn't automatically post to Craigslist. You have to pull the HTML code and manually put it in Craigslist. We don't even do that at this point. It's just the other website that it goes to. And I do want to give some credit to Keith and what he does with our website as well, with just keywords and optimizing. But what vFlyer does, it's sending out all these postings everywhere that have our website, and they're sending links back to our website. So over the course of, I would say it only took a year before we started ranking in Google on the first page.
Yeah.
And we don't ever pay for any that kind of ranking or anything like that. But VFlyer is a great tool to get you out on multiple sites all at once. And it's
to give you an example, VFlyer posts automatically to Trulia, Zillow, eBay Classifieds, Hot Pads, Backpage. That's just to name a few. So one posting to VFlyer gets that property on 40 other websites. And then, like Shannon said, we do use YouTube videos a lot. Google owns YouTube, and Google loves to rank YouTube videos. So anytime we go to a property, we film it and put it on YouTube. So the combination of eFlyer and YouTube, driving them back to our WordPress website, and people can go to WordPress.com and get a free website. WordPress.org costs $4.95 a month because you have to host it. But the one thing we tell people is don't worry about a website when you're starting off. Too many people go, well, how can I do this business without a website? Get a property listed from one of these plethora of sellers that wants full price, put it on VFlyer, and you will start finding buyers. All can be done without a website.
So the price of VFlyer, there is a free version. It gives you a limited amount of flyers and limited capabilities, but there is a free version. You can go check it out. They have a lot of services, and Keith mentioned the URL. If you go to vflyeraccount.com, and then also we just got in a discount code. We got on the phone with VFlyer and said, we share your services all the time. We love it. We've been with you for years. And if you enter the code by Baltimore, like if you want to go beyond the free version and get a paid version, which I think they start at $12.95 a month. And it's based on volume, on how many flyers you want to have active at any given point in time. We've gotten to a pretty high volume, and I like to hold on to my flyers. I don't like deleting them, even when they're, already in place. But, so we pay $24.95 a month, and because we upgraded, to different, and they actually customized our package based on what we wanted. So if you enter the code by Baltimore, they'll give you a 10% discount if you end up wanting a paid version and not just use the free version.
But the free version will get people started.
Right. And I could just say, I think one time I was searching for something, and I actually did see buy Baltimore properties, so I didn't know it was you guys. I actually thought it was somebody else, but I can attest to that, you guys being in the search engines. But if I just ask you a quick question now, I know you said, which is interesting because I think that was the first time you spoke about the fact that you use yellow letters. Now, if you don't mind, I guess sharing, who are you targeting, Keith and Shannon, when you're using yellow letters? Because, like I said, that's the first time I've heard anybody say that they use yellow letters to find, sellers to do these types of deals.
I
actually wanted to go back to that, so I'm glad you asked that.
Well, the only list we have ever used in the whole 8.5 years we've been doing this is absentee owners. And the reason we like absentee owners is because, for those who don't know what an absentee owner is, it's when you own a house that's a different house than the one you live in. So if the primary residence you live in, if you own any other rental properties, inherited properties, or whatever, those are called absentee houses. And so absentee owners have already probably rented in the past. They have tried to sell those extra houses. So the odds of finding somebody that wants full price for a house that they don't live in that they own is extremely high. Now, another good list that people have used is expired listings, not almost expired, but expired. But the absentee owner list has always brought us more leads than we could handle, so we've never needed to go to any other type of list.
And the content in the letter, and we've tested out a lot of things. The interesting thing is the same content that we used when we were trying to find junker deals for our wholesaling or for our rehabbing, we used that same letter. We had tried to adapt the letter and the content to be geared towards rent to own or lease option, and it just bombed as far as the response rate. And if you think about your marketing, number one, you need to get it opened. If it even smells like junk mail, it's probably going in the trash before they even open it. So your first task with any marketing that you do is to get it opened. And then the next task is to get them to call by whatever message you are displaying in the content. We have just found the yellow letter. It gets it opened. I think our top response rate was 47% one time, and a bad response rate for our yellow letters is 11%, which is just unheard of. And
common is 15 to 20% response rate.
And so it is a letter that's saying, hey, we want to buy your house. Don't worry about fixing it up. It is geared towards how we used when we were actually buying houses. When they call, Keith transitions and say, well, tell me about your house. What are you wanting it? Are you needing a quick sale and willing to sell at a discount, or are you looking to get full retail for your home? And 9 times out of 10, it's, I want full retail for my home. Mm-hmm. And Keith is like, oh, that's wonderful, because we have a great program. I can buy it fast from you, but it's going to be at such a discount because of how it works, that I don't even want to insult you with that offer. But what we primarily focus on is getting people full retail for their homes. And so it's like, here's the good news. We're not going to, and we're not going to waste your time, lowballing you and explaining why our offer is so low.
It gets back to, a lot of people don't realize when you sell through a realtor in the MLS, you net about 80 to 85% of the list price in the MLS for many reasons. Number one, the price has to be a little conservative in order to get offers. People don't offer full asking price on the MLS. They ask for seller help, seller concessions. There's realtor commissions. There's closing costs. They do inspections that they want done before they buy the home. None of that is applicable to rent to own. So when these people call and you tell them, not only can we help you get full retail price, we can help you net 20 to 30% more than if you sold it the traditional way. And we're not exclusive, so we're not going to lock you up in a contract with us, and we don't charge for our marketing. They pretty much say, well, what's the catch? Because this sounds like a no-brainer. Mm-hmm. And you have to reassure them that there is no catch. We truly will market your house for free. We get paid from the tenant buyer who puts the down payment down, and we're not going to put you in an exclusive agreement. They pretty much say, well, what risk do I have? Let's do it. So the conversion ratio on the phone with this strategy is extremely high. And if I remember back, negotiating, well, your house is worth $200. How about $85,000 to $100,000 for it? Those are tough conversations, and people will say yes to that, and it's amazing. But most people just want to hear, I want what is there for my house, and if you say I can help you do that, the conversion ratio is almost 100%.
Hopefully people who are watching this, and the fact that you're sending a letter to absentee owners, and you got folks that are like, I'm looking for XYZ, and your response is, great, we can help you with that. Most people who are before watching this haven't had the ability to be able to say that to people. So, it's definitely a win-win situation. I've had the experience, doing it. And as you said earlier, it does take a lot of stress off of you, because, folks aren't cursing you out and hanging up phones when,
right.
You know what I'm saying? You have a real viable solution for people, and it doesn't leave you feeling dirty, so to speak. So, you know what I mean?
Right.
And I'm sorry, go ahead.
And the only thing I wanted to add is taking the time to truly screen your tenant buyers that you do place in there, that you disclose everything. The only sellers we turn down for our rent-to-own link options program are if they're way upside down. We send them to our short sale expert because they need to do a short sale, and especially with them lifting the requirement of them needing to be behind in payments, it can have a minimal impact on their score compared to when they were forcing you to be 3 to 4 months behind before they'd even talk to you. So anyways, if you're upside down, we send them to a short sale. And then also our sellers, we get them to commit. They're willing to allow an 18-month period, a year and a half for them to buy. We do come across sellers that are like, well, I really want them to buy within 6 months, or even in less than a year. And to me, that you're getting more, okay, he's distressed in some way. He may have more flexibility than a super distressed person, but we that's what we have in our program. All of our sellers will at least give a year and a half for our tenant buyers to buy. But you want to do a thorough job in screening, because we know of a lot of people who have just put the first person that had $5-7 grand put down. They didn't qualify them on their income, their credit. They didn't get them credit repair assistance or anything like that. And then you have some unhappy people when 18 months or a year rolls by and they're not buying.
That's one of the objections I get a lot, Iman, is sellers will say, well, I understand rent to own doesn't work most of the time. Most tenant buyers don't buy. And from a national perspective, looking at the national averages, it's 30% or less. But the main reasons, like Shannon was hitting on, that rent to own don't work is people don't do a thorough screening of the buyer going in. They must have an adequate down payment. They must have the income to afford the mortgage. They must have the debt to income ratio. They must have the job history. The only thing lacking from a rent to own buyer is their credit score, and they must be willing to enroll into credit repair so that you can raise their scores. So if you have all those components, then the odds that they are going to purchase goes up substantially. And that's why we have like an 80% plus conversion ratio, is because of who we picked to put in the house. So that's just one of the objections people will get when they're on the phone is, well, I hear rent to own doesn't work. And you have to assure the seller that you do the proper job of screening the people you're going to put in their home.
I mean, you'll come across interesting situations where you have multiple applications for a home. And we had one scenario where there's two candidates. One had much higher income, almost double the income of this other candidate. But they also had high debt. They had all these debt obligations that made their debt to income ratio and being able to afford this home just too tight. Whereas this other applicant here had a lower income, but they had very little debt. So from an affordability standpoint, this person was going to get approved. We've also had scenarios where someone has a high down payment and someone has a lower down payment, but they have fewer credit issues and they're more likely to purchase sooner. And so when you look at the big picture, the ultimate goal being to set everybody up to win, going forward, you don't have a crystal ball. You don't know what's going to happen with values there. And, but there are many things that you can, just look at and make sure you have taken into consideration, or even eliminated someone going up. We've had many tenant buyers where they're shopping in the 200 price point, but looking at their debt to income ratio, they need to be shopping in the 150,000 price point. Because we would never place somebody into a home where we know their income doesn't support that purchase price. I don't care if they have $15,000, $20,000 to put down.
So, I mean, ultimately, is the seller actually the ones who they get the final approval of who goes in there?
Yes.
Is that how you do it? Right. And just one quick question. I'm sorry, go ahead, Shannon.
Oh, no, I wasn't adding anything.
Okay. So to back it up a little bit, so you're saying there's no paperwork between you and the seller? I mean, I know you were saying.
There is, and we can cover real quickly the paperwork that's involved. You have what's called a cooperative lease option agreement that you sign between yourself and the seller. And pretty much that agreement is letting the seller know you are not the one buying that house. You're not the one guaranteeing the payments on that house. You're not going to live in that house. You are going to be marketing that house to a third-party tenant buyer. They are the ones that are going to rent it. You're going to do all the screening of them. You're going to present these people to them. They will make the final decision, and that you get paid off the down payment up front. And so that's what that cooperative lease option agreement does. It just tells the seller, here's the transaction that we're going to enter into with someone else. Then you sign an option agreement with the seller and a purchase and sales agreement. that gives you the ability to be a principal in the transaction. So when you sign, it's just like a lot of wholesalers will sign an option agreement or a purchase and sales agreement that's assignable. Same theory here. You're just wholesaling a pretty home instead of a junker home. Mm-hmm. So you have this option agreement and purchase and sales agreement that you assign to a tenant buyer with an assignment agreement. And then lastly is a rental agreement that the owner and the tenant buyer sign. Mm-hmm. So cooperative lease option agreement is just between you and the seller, and that's it. The option agreement, the purchase and sales agreement is between you and the seller, and then you assign it to the tenant buyer, and then the rental agreement is just between the seller and the tenant buyer.
Awesome. So just real fast before we can wrap it up, because I know you're busy. Based on what you were saying in terms of the type of marketing that you're doing, 500 letters per month, Shannon and Keith? Is that what you said?
We did, back when we needed to do a mail campaign to generate initially our leads, we would do 500 every 2 month. Okay. So we would drop 50 letters for 10 days. Mm-hmm. So 50 times 10 days is 500, and that would give us enough leads for 2 months.
2 to 3 months.
Yeah. And
because if you think about that, if you're trying to do short sales or buy junkers, 500 letters is not going to get you too many people that want 50 cents on the dollar for their home. You're going to have to mail out a lot more. But when you mail out 500 letters and you're telling people I'll get you full price, that's the majority of the people that are calling. And so it doesn't take very many letters to get an inventory built up.
So I hope folks here are hearing that. I mean, and you're saying every couple of months you guys were doing it, not month after month after month, like under the gun type thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
So realistically, with that kind of number, and I know, we all know that it's a numbers game, and
yes.
Depends on your market. But realistically, conservatively speaking, with that amount of marketing that you're doing, or somebody, were to hear this and boom, I want to do what Keith and Shannon are doing. I mean, kind of, how many deals do you think that they could realistically do based on that kind of marketing?
Well, if you just did the yellow, now the yellow letter will work in some places better than others. So between Craigslist, cold calling Craigslist and emailing people on Craigslist, or just the yellow letter, doing one or both, I think it's realistic that a person that doesn't have full time to dedicate to this, still has a job, can realistically easily do one deal per month. And that is the average option fee is between $5,000 and $6,000 per deal. And you're paid up front. You're not waiting on a closing. So as soon as you find that tenant buyer, match them to the seller, you're paid. So I would say very easily one per month. If you have a little bit more time than the 8 to 5 person that's swimming at work from 8 to 5, you should easily be able to do a couple per month. It's funny that you asked. Shannon and I could do a lot more per month than we do, but we want to enjoy time off. So we take 3 to 6 months a year off, and we are happy doing about 3 to 4 a month. And so if you just do the math, and our average option fee is about $5,500 average. Some are a little bit less, and some are 10 or 15,000. But if 4 times 5, that's $20,000 a month, and we work a little bit more than half time. So a person by themselves should easily be able to do 1 to 2 per month before they need to do it full time or have extra help.
So, I mean, you would be kind of, this is some easy stuff. And like I said, I've done it. I've actively used the strategy. So it isn't as stressful as discounted properties. You don't have to worry about estimating repairs, like pulling your hair out about that. You don't have to worry about titles coming back dirty because you're in and out. Right. Keith and Shannon, you're in and out. You don't have to worry about that. You know what I mean?
That's right.
All that type of stuff that you normally are weighted down with doing a traditional wholesale deal. So hopefully you guys who are watching this found a lot of value in this video interview with Shannon and Keith on the whole concept of doing link options, offering this as another alternative to folks that are calling you who are saying, hey, I'm not looking to sell my property for $10K, $15K. I'm looking for full price. And, you have the ability now to say, I can help you with that. So I know, this, not that this is what this is about, but Shannon and Keith do have, they do have a program, a course, on link options. If you guys could just talk a little bit about that, we'll wrap it up, give a, web address. Keith and Shannon, I can tell you, are not, their sole primary purpose is not about selling boxes. They make their money from doing deals. And so if you could pretty much, I guess, share with everybody how the whole idea of putting that course together came about,
Absolutely. Well, I'm glad you asked that, because throughout the years, people have always seen Shannon and me doing tons of deals, especially people that follow us on social media. And they were always rent-to-own deals. And there was a point there where it seemed like every day somebody was calling us and saying, hey, can I just pick your brain for a few minutes on the phone? Well, a few minutes turns into 2 or 3 hours, which turns into multiple phone calls. And I got to a point one day, I said, Shannon, so many people are asking us how we're doing what we're doing. We want to share it, but every time I do that, we're not doing deals. And like you said, we make almost all of our money off of real estate transactions. We make very little money any other way. And so we decided to develop a course that was literally, we filmed ourselves doing every single aspect of the business. And I liken it to spending 2 weeks in our home with us doing every single step of the business. For example, we have filmed live closings. We go through every line of our contracts. We film staging houses. We film comping properties. We have screenflows of all that. There's even marketing that we didn't talk about today because we were just talking about the key marketing that we do routinely. But there's many other types of marketing that we do, developing squeeze pages to drive people to. All of that.
Real calls with you on sellers.
Live calls.
With tenant buyers, role playing.
Every objection that you could ever think of from a buyer or seller, Shannon and I we have a live phone call with almost all of them, and then we did a role play where people could hear every objection. So that's the reason we developed that is so that when people called, we would say, you know what, we don't have time to hang out with you for a day or two, but we do have a course that's like living with us for 2 weeks doing everything. And that's why we developed it. It wasn't to go out and be mentors and coaches, which leads to my next point. We didn't want to develop a product that gave you the sort of the theory of the course, but you needed to get into a coaching program to really understand it, because we've been through that.
Yeah.
We've spent $2,000 and $3,000 and $4,000 on a course to find out, well, you really needed the coaching program. We didn't want to do that to people. We wanted to give people everything they would need so they wouldn't need a coach. But then at the same time, we offer free 24/7, not 24/7, but we have a members forum where people can ask questions. We don't charge for that ongoing support. So that's why we developed the course. It wasn't to go out and be guru speakers or anything like that. If people are curious about our course and want to know more about it, they can go to RTO Team. That stands for Rent to Own Team.com, or linkoptions.net. That's link, L-I-N-K, options, O-P-T-I-O-N-S.net. And then, of course, if anybody's interested in that, we do have for your listeners, we would like to give them a code, REWE, that they can enter, and it will give them $300 off if they're interested. And that stands for Real Estate Wholesaling Explained.
Exactly. And I appreciate that, Keith and Shannon. And again, like I said, this was not the purpose of doing this video interview. But they do, if you want to learn more, where do you go?
Right.
This is where you go. And Shannon and Keith were kind enough to offer a discount, to people who are subscribers to Real Estate Wholesale and Explained, and I really, really appreciate that. And there was something I was going to say. Oh, what I was going to say was I've been through Shannon and Keith's course, and it's very thorough. I haven't been through all of it, but I'm telling you, like I said, the whole yellow letter thing, I never heard that. Folks who use a strategy in real estate of using yellow letters to market. There's other information in there, but it's solid, it's thorough. Again, you should be able to take that information and get deals done. So, again, I will post that information, both links to the site for the course for those who are interested, and I will put the code there as well. So again, Shannon and Keith, I really, really, really appreciate you guys taking the time out and doing this video interview and sharing with everybody. Hopefully, there were some gold nuggets in here, people, so hopefully you picked up on that. And you can visit Shannon and Keith. They also have a fan page, correct? Keith and Shannon French. Am I correct in that for Facebook? And I'm sure you can connect with them on LinkedIn and things like that. But they're really great people, and I hope you enjoyed this video interview as much as I did. So again, thank you, Keith and Shannon, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.
Thank you, Iman, and thank you.